The Imagination by I. Richards is another essay which talks about text and how we can analyze it. Richards first counts 6 senses of the word imagination, which are frequently discussed. So, when we say imagination, what do we mean? So, generally, we mean this 5 things and plus one, which we are going to talk about in depth. First is production of visual images. When I say a table, you automatically start picturing it in your mind. When I say there was a king and there was a queen, they lived in a castle beyond hills, you will automatically start picturing it in your mind. It is considered to be done by imagination, this production of images. Second is use of figurative language. When someone uses a metaphor or simile, he or she is using imagination to produce it. That means imagination helps him or her to make contact between something abstract to physical or abstract to abstract. Like when we say time passes like water in a river, then this simile obviously is a connection between time, which is abstract thing, and water, which is very physical thing, and we have connected them. There is no relation between them, but we have connected them and it makes sense. So we are using it in that sense, and it is considered to be done by imagination. Third is creation of characters. We study play, movies, novels, short stories, even poetry has characters and personas. Even in one novel, there are characters which are very different from each other. So how does this happen that one man or woman writes about men and women of different characteristics? How does that happen? That is the reason why we have added this category. Some believes that it is done by the power of imagination only. It is the special imagination by which he can sympathize with their minds, with character's mind, that how this character will react after the situation, that kind of thing. Fourth is inventiveness. It is believed that imagination is responsible for bringing together elements which are not ordinarily connected. That means scientists possess imagination quality. You have to have imagination to invent something. That means Thomas Alva Edison had imagination. That means Newton had imagination. That means Einstein had imagination. Fifth is similar kind. It is connecting things in a logical order. That means finding connection between various things in a way that can lead to a single purpose or a logic. This also is said to be done with power of imagination. Now, the last part, the last sense of imagination is the subject of this essay, and it is very important. It is about imagination of a poet, how a poet writes. Richard says that a poet arranges his experiences and lays them out in a style which is not possible for ordinary man. Poet always does it better. We all have experiences and it leaves some effects on us. But when we try to order them in a way that makes sense, it does not happen. But when a poet creates poetry, he usually is arranging what we call universal experiences into something of art. Ordinary men may feel it at times when he is having extreme happiness, like extreme happiness of marrying someone you love, or fathering a child, or something like that. But it does not happen very frequently. So, only great art can simulate such experiences into ordinary man. Now, how does poet creates? He makes unconsciously a selection of outfits. The fourth of habit. The impulses he awakens are freed through the very means by which they are aroused. Then irrelevant and extra things are excluded. Then what remains, he imposes an order on it. And then, almost always, the chief part of his work is done through the impulses we have seen to be most uniform and regular, which they called formal elements. They are very primitive and very common. That means happiness, joy, pity, fear, anger, helplessness, this kind of things. Now, poet does this with a kind of increased organization, and he has this heightened power of combining all the effects of formal elements into a single response. Coleridge was the one who pointed out that sense of musical delight is the gift of the imagination. So that sense we are talking here, sixth one, that imagination has musical delight created, and poetry is the chief. Then Richard gives an example of pity and terror in tragedy, how they are very different from each other. Then author Richards talk about pity and terror, two qualities which are opposite and discordant, and how they are together in tragedy. In tragedy, we feel pity on a character, and we may feel terror from a character, but both remains in the same instant in the same scene, and still we can feel the response. That is catharsis here. So he says that this kind of response can be created only by a great poet. Now, how can these impulses be organized? Richard says there are two ways. First, by exclusion and by inclusion, or by synthesis and by elimination. Although every coherent state of mind depends upon both, it is permissible to contrast experiences which win stability and order through a narrowing of response with those which widen it. When some work of art has a single kind of feeling as a desired response, that is a good poetry or good work. But then there are some works, some poems, which can invoke more than one feelings, more than one responses. So these kind of works are very different from other works. How? The difference is in the relations of the several impulses active in the experience. When first kind of poems, they have this very parallel impulses. They all run to same direction, but the poem where there are multiple impulses, they are juxtaposed, they have a heterogeneity and they are opposed. So this is one of the main difference between simple kind of poetry with one emotion running throughout and second kind of poetry when multiple emotion or impulses are running throughout. Another difference is that of balance. When we have first kind of poetry, it is balanced. It holds one state of mind, but opposed impulses, a conflict, they hold two altering states. And when that happens, that means we are not using our only focus to get it. That means various aspects of our mind are reacting to it, and various aspect of that particular impulse is being affected on our mind. So Richard said that is the disinterested activity that we generally say in area of criticism. So it becomes disinterested because it is not interested for any one impulse, but of multiple. So when we see them from every side, all round, then we can actually know what they are, these impulses, and the work which invokes them. Some interest we should not see, but they are more or less involved in it. So Richard said that impersonal becomes a curious way of saying that our personality is more completely involved in it. So when we say we are detached, it is actually our main focus is detached from there, and our various faculties of mind are attached there.